Welcome to Project Vanguard Podcast, home of the community of veterans in energy. We believe energy security is national security, and our mission is to double the number of veterans working in the energy industry. I'm your host, Kevin Doffing. Today's guest is Alex Mouton, an Air Force veteran and founder of M3 Services, an energy efficiency contractor serving schools, hospitals, and major facilities across our country. Alex went from F-15 crew chief to picking up the phone at an HVAC shop to building a multi-million-dollar business that cuts bills, cuts loads, and strengthens the grid. We talk about why energy efficiency is one of the fastest, most overlooked paths into energy, and how utility programs actually work, and why there's a massive shortage of good contractors. We also dig into Alex's leadership journey, from the CEO circle at Bunker Labs, which is now the Institute for Military Veterans and Families at Syracuse University, to running a SkillBridge apprenticeship program and launching the Veterans in Energy Alliance. Also, why he believes veterans shouldn't take jobs in this space. They should start companies in it. If this resonates with you, share with another veteran and join the Project Vanguard community to launch your next mission. Just go to projectvanguard.com and join our private Slack community. Let's get into it. Hey, thanks for making the time to join us today. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And we just kind of came off a 2-hour session already, so I know that you're giving freely of your time to Project Vanguard today.
I appreciate it. And, I think it's a good mission. I'm glad to be a part of it. So it was worth the effort.
For everyone's reference, what we're talking about is you just came through the kickoff for our 2026 Community Leader Fellowship. So this is the first time we've kind of built a structure around our Community Leader program. These are the volunteers like yourself. They're going to be leading our geographic and industry chapters as we try to grow out. And, talk a little bit about what that means, being in Arkansas, being in energy efficiency. A lot of times we're focused on wind, battery, solar, but, there's so much more to the energy industry. What does that mean for you working in energy efficiency and where, literally you're at?
So everything about having, the involvement with Project Vanguard, for us, I don't have a big veteran community here in Arkansas. It's not that there's not veterans here in Arkansas. There's not a big social club, basically. And then in the specific with the industry, I haven't met too many veterans that are at our level that are seriously focused on energy efficiency. So there's a handful of reasons why this is valuable to me, because putting a voice on the value of why energy resilience, energy sustainability, energy efficiency is so important for everyone in the country, probably everyone in the world. But in Arkansas, they're doing a lot of things. The utility companies are certainly doing a lot of things to help us out, but it's just not talked about enough. And having the contact with Project Vanguard, getting involved in this fellowship, will allow me to learn from others coast to coast, what may be getting done, but also share with others what's being done here in, Arkansas, and how we're effectively changing and making a difference in our sector. And it's not just Arkansas. We're working in Louisiana, Texas. We're growing into Michigan and North Carolina and Georgia next year. So we're constantly growing and trying to, put voice to this industry and get more people involved.
What do you feel like when you talk about the industry not having, as much connectivity or, even in Arkansas for what you're doing? We first got connected through Bunker Labs, which no longer exists, right?
That's right.
Can you tell that story from your perspective?
Sure. So I'm a member of CEO Circle. It's a CEO veteran or veteran spouse owned cohort that's ran by IVMF, Institute for Veteran and Military Families, out of Syracuse, and JP Morgan Chase. They're the big sponsor. And it's an annual cohort. We meet in person 4 times a year, and we meet monthly with the large cohort and then with the smaller group. But it was the last year that Bunker Labs had it.
Yeah.
And it slid completely underneath IVMF. And it's been the same. There's a few people that say it's not as good as it was when it was Bunker Labs. I think it's absolutely effective. And to the same point of being a part of Project Vanguard, this puts me in front of other people like me, CEOs, that are trying to build their business, trying to grow their business. We've all walked in the same kind of boots at one point. the best thing about the program is the networking and the accountability, because GIs are going to hold GIs accountable, even if it's for not drinking all their beer in the bottle, and they're just, we're going to give everybody a hard time anyway. But it's, for me, the accountability, the fellowship, the camaraderie that comes from being around other CEOs, other veteran CEOs. We're all selling a different thing, but the problems are all still the same. So the CEO circle is a very valuable thing. And I would recommend it to anyone that ever hears my voice. If you want to make yourself better at being a CEO, get involved in that cohort.
I mean, RIP for Bunker Labs, but Syracuse does some great work. I started the chapter in Houston for Bunker Labs many moons ago, but it's great to see them continuing to go, and it's hard to maintain these organizations.
Yeah, and I've completed 2 years at the end of this year, and they've asked me to come on to facilitate. So I'm sticking around to facilitate. We're helping. What we're doing different is they're allowing us to start creating content, like helping them, better content for the online, for the virtual courses, how we think it'll help the CEOs get more out of the program. We were told this morning, we had a meeting about it. I was like, break it. We want you to break it. So anytime somebody says break it to me, I was like, fuck yeah, I want to break it.
I moderated one of those for about 6 or 8 years, a CEO roundtable here in Houston through a group called the Silver Foxes. And I mean, you got to have someone different facilitating and participating, because those are two different functions and your
Sure.
head's in two different places. But I mean, the friendships, what you get from having like a really tight group that are in the same place. None of us were even close on industries. There was one other oil and gas guy. Everybody else was some other domain, but it was so impactful in my life.
Yeah. Actually, you're on my list to ask to come and talk. I would love for Project Vanguard to come in and talk to the CEOs and why it's so important for, our national security and our, in general. And I also think one of the things I would like to do is also encourage some of those CEOs that are looking for another vertical, maybe get into energy. You're an engineer, get into energy engineering, get into security with energy, something along those ways, because this would be an easy segue for almost every single one of those executives at energy. There's so much money out there. It's not like you're not going to make it. So
right. My Venn diagram is like military veterans, energy, and then entrepreneurship. Like when someone's at all three, it's like, hello, new best friend.
Yeah. Okay. We're starting to mirror. You need to grow your beard out a little bit longer, and then we'll have it.
It does get a lot more gray when I go out. So I'll catch up to
no
you.
joke.
So I did a webinar for the Small Business Development Center in Houston, because they asked me like, hey, there's all this energy transition stuff. I had been their advisor for veteran-owned businesses, but they're like, can you just give a broader, how do businesses get into this energy transition stuff? And really what I anchored on, I'm like, listen, like, you're not going to go out and start a project development company or a wind blade manufacturing company, but what you can do in this space really quickly, and where most of the jobs are, is energy efficiency.
Sure.
And that's what you do. So tell everybody a little bit more about, like, what does it mean to be in energy efficiency?
So I'll back it up a little bit further. When I got out of the military, I was an F-15 mechanic. I don't know anything about energy efficiency, and I really don't care about it. I mean, I don't want a high electricity bill. But other than that, I don't give a shit. It's just, that's not my world. But regardless of what you might read about, they don't need F-15 mechanics in everybody's garage. So I needed to find something to do to eat, right? We were in Panama City, and we moved to Arkansas, and I needed a job. I was working for an air conditioning company as their operations director, which, if you don't know anything about air conditioning, operations director, it's a dude that picks up the phone and says, hey, Mr. Doffy, we'll be there at 2:00 today. That's operations director in the air conditioning business. So I'd go into this meeting with Entergy Arkansas, and they were talking about these utility incentive programs. And real simply, they said, if you do all this work, we're going to pay you this amount of money. Well, that sounded kind of cool. So I asked them, what if I did it 10 times? And they go, we'll pay you 10 times that money. So I go back to my boss, who's, only wants me to call and schedule air conditioning. Hey, man, this guy's got a lot of money over here if we just go clean air conditioners for a living. And boss didn't want to do it. Well, I started doing the math, talking over my wife. And this was a way that we thought we can get into our own business, start doing our own work. And it was to eat. Literally, I needed a job. This was going to pay me. And that's how we did it. Me and two other guys in 2019 started, we started doing work for the utility company. And fast forward to now, We've seen where the industry is trying to go. We know that these utility companies are, in most cases, they're publicly regulated and required to do these energy efficiency measures because you and I are paying into them. You're in Houston, so you pay Center Point. Every time you pay your utility bill, your money's going into some of these programs.
Yep.
And we just figured out how to use that money and put it back to energy efficiency, make a living out of it. For me, being an F-15 mechanic, understanding a checklist and how to fill out a checklist and follow the rules made the process pretty easy. And we started just by cleaning air conditioners, literally take an air conditioner apart, clean it, put it back together, and collect all the data that comes along with it for energy savings. That has allowed us to grow into Texas and Louisiana. It's allowing us to go into Michigan and other states. And we're constantly being asked, what else can you do? So we started doing controls with thermostats and lighting controls.
Yeah. While I'm here, what else can I do?
Yeah.
We've got the customer acquisition cost. We've got the truck roll. I've got a technician. What else can we just bury into the next 30 minutes that's incremental cost increase?
And I'm going to charge your utility company for 90% of what we're doing. So I always want to say, I think you're a fool if you say no. People have their reasons why they say no. But usually it doesn't, because I'm going to go talk to their neighbors and the neighbors are going to say yes. And then eventually the neighbors are telling the guy that said no, hey, dude. And you always eventually get to a yes. So it started out to eat, realized it could be a very big game changer, not just for me, but I mean, we've created 35 jobs currently working for us right now, technician, workforce development, true careers in energy. And we're just growing. We have to add 15 more people before the summer. And that's just to handle our current workload, not counting what we need to do in Michigan and North Carolina and Georgia.
That's awesome.
And, we hire veterans. We'll hire anybody. We'll hire people right out of high school. We'll hire people that have had, the term is justice involved. People that got in trouble. We'll hire them as long as they didn't do some really screwed up stuff. Everybody deserves a second chance.
Couldn't agree more.
But for us, the work is there. Everywhere I go, and I know you mentioned something about AESP. Everywhere I go, we're looking for more contractors. We're looking for more contractors.
And tell everybody what AESP is.
Okay. AESP is the Association of Energy Service Professionals. It's a group of United States and Canadian energy service professionals. It could be everything from the utility companies, state energy offices, people that work in engineering firms, all sorts of things that service or support utility programs, utility anything. And every year we go to a conference. They have this nice, lovely conference. There'll be one in San Diego that I'm going to try and drag you out to, that there's 900 people in this room or 1,000 people in this room. 450 of them are utilities. 449 of them are supporters of the utility companies. And one's the contractor, me. I'm the only contractor in these damn meetings, in a meeting full of people saying we need more contractors.
Hello.
Exactly. It's like,
Present Sergeant.
All I need is like 3 dynamite sticks and I'll get all the fish in that pond.
Yeah.
But this is why I think that more guys like us can get into this and really effectively benefit their livelihood. They could easily do this. And we're actually actively looking for those kind of people to help lead some programs that we're looking at throughout the country because, one, I'd love to get the job to a veteran that might be interested in growing into this industry. But if other contractors aren't going to participate, I'm not going to leave the money laying on the ground.
Right. And I'll tell you, I've had a dream for years. I looked at buying commercial HVAC company, doing energy audits, heat pumps, just electrifying homes. I'm in Houston.
Sure.
It is not getting any cooler. I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt in late November and I'm sweating. We've had 2 cool days that got below 70 in the dark. It's not always cold here by this time, but we've at least had a brush with what you might consider fall in other places.
And Texas has a real threat of energy problems.
Yeah.
So anyway, so you had the dream of buying an HVAC company and get into this space.
The idea of being able to just be local, not traveling, travel during the day for work, get certified, buy an existing company, do a small SBA loan, Get an existing book of business that you step into and then just start, you know when I took over my dad's business after I got out of the Army, it was a retail distribution oilfield service supply company. We were selling PPE and I mean, just building the website, doing all the grassroots, initial entry, market development
Mhm.
stuff. Like, I loved all that. I didn't love retail. That was not my favorite business model ever. If it hadn't been my dad, like, I would not have ever chosen
Sure.
retail, but professional services, I love.
Well, I talk to my IT friends or I talk to the folks that do marketing, like, you can easily add this on.
Mhm.
I would gladly coach them to success because, one, it's like franchising yourself without having to go through the bullshit of creating a franchise. But these companies, these utility companies are desperate for consistent support, consistent involvement. And, if you do the math, it's probably close to $1 trillion industry annually.
We're gonna have to stop talking about this, or you're gonna destroy Project Vanguard on this podcast, and I'm gonna quit and go do HVAC.
No, 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 you can't quit, but I think that Project Vanguard, I'm hoping that Project Vanguard, there's a lot of synergistic
No,
opportunities
there is.
because,
There is.
I do think it's, at one point we were guarding gates and telling people don't come in and protecting what's on the backside of
Mhm.
that. I did not set out with that intention, but that's essentially what I'm doing is every time we go and take 1 kilowatt off the grid, we're making it easier for us to stand up to the shutdowns, the
Yeah,
brownouts, all that other
that's the
stuff. So,
efficiency piece, right?
yes, the words sustainability and resilience are, those are the big words, that you hear a lot more now. You cannot be sustainable if you're not efficient first.
Mhm.
You can have a field full of solar panels, but if the windows are still open in the building, if you've got leaky holes in your roof or something, something that's letting the air out, you're only as good as the leaks that you have in the building.
Well, I mean, it's like running a business. If you got a big balance sheet, okay, yeah, that's great, but if you've got negative cash flow, like, you're not running an efficient enterprise, and
Correct.
eventually that balance sheet's gonna run out. So, to your analogy, I mean, like, if you just got a bunch of holes in your building, like, I don't care how much money you wanna put into that AC,
Mhm.
it's not gonna
Absolutely.
work out long term.
So that's one of the things we're trying to push, like, become more efficient. Use that savings to create a sustainability plan and start, like, if it's replacing equipment or
Right.
whatever, then once you've gotten to that part and you've got a really good sustainability plan, you are efficient, you can be resilient. But you can't be any of those things without being efficient first. I don't think you can have a resilient grid unless you have a good sustainability plan, but you have to tighten up the ship first. I can't go run a mile right now without exercise, without preparing for it type of thing.
So take me back. Take me back to how did you end up in the Air Force?
Okay, I was a shitty high school student. And when I say bad high school student, I just didn't care. And I had a lot of fun.
Said every great business owner I've known.
So there's guidance counselors right now rolling over in graves. If there's, hopefully they're not all in graves right now, but once they get to the grave, they'll roll over at that point as well. But I didn't have a lot of options. And my dad was in the Navy. He was in the Naval Reserve. He was an armament guy. He loaded bombs on the airplanes. And he kept telling me, I was in the band in high school. I played athletics in high school, but you know, he goes, "You're really good at this band stuff. You ought to join the military and get on the bugle corps." Well, we called it beat and blow in the Air Force because it sounded funny, and that's what they went and did is beat and blow and stuff. So sorry, Air Force guys, I love you, but that's what you called. Anyway, so he kept pushing me towards it, kept pushing me towards it. I'm 17 years old. There's no way in hell I'm joining the military. I'm gonna go with my friends to college, but in truth, I'd have gone to my friends for college for a semester, and my ass would have been back home joining the military because I'd have done terrible in college. So he kept encouraging it for quite a while. So I said, "Okay, Dad, you were in the Navy. I'm gonna join the Navy." He goes, "Over my dead body," and I'm 17 still. I need some help getting in. "All right, Dad, I'm gonna join the Marine Corps." He goes, "Over my dead body." I never said, "Dad, I'm gonna join the Army." I don't know why. Nothing against the Army. I just didn't say, "Hey, Dad, I'm gonna join the Army." And I said, "Hey, Dad, can I join the Air Force?" And he goes, "What a great choice, son." We go down to the recruiter, meet the recruiter. I got, all the bullshit the recruiters give you. And I joined because my dad told me to, and not in a mean sort of way, but
Mhm.
he thought it was going to be my best route because I was such a crummy student in high school. And he was right. I joined in November of '92. basic training in San Antonio could be a mother trucker in the summertime. So I'm glad I went in November because it was cold and windy, but it wasn't hot and sweaty, and I wasn't living in a barracks with 50 other sweaty men. It was what it was, but
Yeah.
it was the Air Force. But I joined because of him.
Yeah. No, I get it. My dad was an Army guy in Vietnam, and I think he was lights out perfect talking people out of joining anything other than the Air Force.
That makes sense.
Well, aside from me, like, he just tried to get me to not do anything, but me and my brother's friends, if they wanted to join the military, they'd talk to my dad, and he'd be like, "No, no, no. There you go, Air Force. Now you're gonna have a great career."
Great choice. So I did. I joined the Air Force. I was supposed to be this is how crummy of a student I was. It followed me into the Air Force. I get out of basic training. My tech school was in Lowry Air Force Base, Colorado. So, I mean, downtown, pretty much right there smack in the middle of Denver. It was awesome. But I was 18 years old. I'm, away from home. They finally let us get off base and I didn't have to wear my uniform. And this is great. I wasn't doing well in classes and I was just sucking at it and being bad. I wasn't being a good airman at the time. And a captain pretty much called me in his office, chewed me out, and told me I had crew chief qualities. And anybody that's watches this, Air Force crew chief is an aircraft mechanic, and it could be on anything from the C-5s all the way down to, smaller aircraft, but you're the mechanic. And everybody says, "Oh, you're booger hookers, you're knuckle draggers, we're all these, these degenerates." So that's what the captain told me. I had crew chief qualities. And I wanted to fight this guy. Apparently that's a bad thing. I've heard all these bad things about crew chiefs, and this motherfucker just told me I was a crew chief. They put me on a plane. They sent me from Colorado to Wichita Falls, Texas, which that was my first mistake. That place sucked. But he was right. I had crew chief quality. The previous job was supposed to be a bunch of electronic stuff with avionics, and I just really wasn't paying attention. But I understood, take this brake apart, put this brake back on, all the different things they put you through for the task. And it ended up being a cool job. And I think it's what set me up for the success we have today is physical, manual, hard work type of stuff that is extremely highly skilled. You require a high skill to do it. Yeah. And then the rest was history. I got to get assigned all over the world. That was fun. And then I was offered a chance to, I think it was go back overseas or, I was starting to get kind of messed up towards the end. My back and my knees were like, so they offered me medical retirement at 18 and a half years and I took it. So here we are today.
Nice. So how do you find, you're doing the energy efficiency stuff, you're cleaning out everything. Like, what's the biggest project you've had to work on? Is it all residential or commercial? Like,
oh no. So we don't like residential. We think people are really nice and they need this work in their house and we'll gladly go do it. But if you want to move the meter into energy efficiency, it is commercially. So our first job here in Hot Springs, Arkansas was we started doing the work for the utility company. I called up a local school district here where I was friends with the superintendent, said, "This is what we're doing. I've never done this before. Can we try this on your really big school district?" And the superintendent said yes, and we started moving. But we've done work. The biggest single building we've ever done work for was the Superdome. We cleaned all the air conditioners that service the entire Superdome. And if you can imagine, the air conditioner on our house is the size of a 4x4 box. These freaking units in the Superdome were the size of your house. And I don't know how long it had been since they had been cleaned, but if you can imagine all the culture in New Orleans, all the culture that ever goes through the Superdome was baked into these freaking air conditioning units, these big air handlers. We scrubbed a lot of culture away from the Superdome. We like the bigger jobs because we know we're moving the needle for energy efficiency. That's where the bigger impact is. Recently, we've done New Orleans public school systems. We've done work for the Riverwalk Mall in New Orleans. We're doing work in hotels, hospitals. We've done VA hospitals. The bigger, the better, because the other part about being efficient is if you're going house to house, you might be going house to house, crossing the town, you're constantly in a car pissing away other energy substances.
yeah.
And if I can be at a place like a school district and we're there for a few weeks, well, it's almost like a construction site then. Your guys know where to go to get to work. They're not driving all over town, getting in the car, getting out of the car. They're not pulling gear out all the time. We're able to be efficient with our time and capitalize on that monetarily because we're not unloading a truck, loading a truck, unloading a truck, loading a truck day in and day out. We get to a site, we're going to be there for a week or so. We're leaving our stuff on site. We're showing up to the job. The bigger, the better. And we prefer the bigger, the better.
How long are you on site when you do those?
It really depends. The Superdome took us 2 weeks. It's a lot of manual, literally some dudes scrubbing the air conditioning coils. Depend on the size of our team. We work in teams of 5 for the most part. That's how many people are typically on a site. And depend on the structure, like a school district in Texas. Texas has nothing but rooftop units across most of the roofs in Texas. And if everything is situated right, my guys can knock out anywhere from 20 to 30 units a day, testing them, cleaning them, and putting them all back together. And so it just really depends. If we got lucky and the weather was good and the temperatures were right and everything, if they held their tongues properly when they were doing work, they can squirt through a place pretty quickly. But this year in New Orleans, we'll have, by the time the year ends, we'll be close to like 28 or 2,900 tune-ups just in the city of New Orleans.
Oh, wow.
We've done a similar number to that in central Louisiana. So this will be our biggest year as far as the most units we've ever serviced in one calendar year. And it'll be close to 6,000, which is pretty significant.
So all those guys doing the work in Louisiana, are they local or are they traveling?
So some of them are from Arkansas.
Okay.
The rest of them are there in Louisiana. And we don't have a lot of work going on in Arkansas right now. That's just the cyclical way that things work in, some of these utility programs. But most of these folks are in Louisiana.
Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, like you want those local jobs, right?
Absolutely.
And the truck rolls are a lot cheaper.
Truck rolls are a lot cheaper, but I mean, that truly is it. But it's, for us, the work that dried up in Arkansas, we had all these guys that have been working for us and like, look, y'all are welcome to stay working for us, but the work's in Louisiana. So we've been, for the better part of a year, we've been traveling guys weekly to Louisiana. But the truth is we're making more money in Louisiana by traveling guys than we were here in Arkansas, keep them close to home.
Yeah.
So
what is your advice when veterans, are thinking about getting into this or you're trying to talk them into getting into this? Like, what is the big, missing piece for them?
I think the missing piece is they don't know this is there. I didn't know it existed. It's not top of mind. I mean, unless you went to school for some sort of energy engineering type of thing, it's not in our wheelhouse typically. And then when you talk to traditional HVAC contractors or electrical contractors, it's not their wheelhouse and it's not really, doesn't benefit them to do it because they'd rather go sell that service contract. They want to go do traditional HVAC or electrical work. And I think the traditional contractor in that field, first of all, this work might be beneath them. I don't mean that badly. This is not the field they wanted to get into. But I think a GI, he or she will see this as, hopefully the way I saw it, this is a process. If I follow this process, then one, I'm going to make a really big difference in this industry. There's a benefit to my world for what I just did. But the other part is I'm going to make a money. There's a significant amount of money that can be made. And I think almost every veteran that I've ever met, for the most part, there's no reason why they couldn't do this. If they already have an entrepreneurial mind, or if they already have, this goal of being self-employed, which, veterans make up a really good self-employment demographic in our country. This is teachable. This is learnable. This is, all puns intended. This is a way to keep the lights on and more.
Yeah. My uncle ended up becoming a master electrician after being a lineman in the Rio Grande Valley. And I mean, he tried running crews and he found, you know what? I make more money and I'm happier when I just do my own thing.
Sure.
And never looked back after that. And, I think that for a lot of folks that, maybe were put out with the military, the hierarchy, the bureaucracy, kind of being able to be your own boss and not have employees, but stay busy, keep your family fed, take the work you want, make a good rate. I was talking to a nuclear technician yesterday and he's like, hey, until that site's shut down, it's hard to pass up in, the early 2000s, a $220,000 technician role after being enlisted in the military for a few years. I mean, like, I'm not leaving that job.
No, you can put up a lot of shit for $200,000.
Yeah, you sure can.
Yeah.
Yeah, my experience in corporate America when I first got out was they knew how to pay you just enough not to quit, but not enough to be happy. I mean, if you're making 200K, you can you can put up with a lot of BS and still be happy.
Yeah, and it's towards the end of my military career, I did not work well with others. I was starting to get to the point where my supervision and I butted heads often. My brain was telling me that they're wrong,
Right.
but, the way it works in the military, it doesn't matter if they're right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got out of the service, actually just recently, somebody did one of those, it's like a disc assessment, figure out what makes you tick. And my disc assessment said pretty much I'm unemployable. I can't work for anybody. And that's why the last part of my career didn't go so well in the military, is because that part of me started coming out more, and I just didn't know any better. When I got out in 2011, I worked for Home Depot. That's a good way to find out you don't work well for people, because fuck that shit. Pardon my language. I don't know who sees this. I apologize. But
You're good.
that
You're
was
good.
terrible. Then I went and I did a little job for a government contracting firm that was working on Tyndall Air Force Base. And that was, there's a cubicle in a room full of cubicles with a bunch of people talking about their cubicle. And I just left the flight line, work on airplanes, and now I'm in a cubicle. So that sucked. And then we moved up here to Arkansas, and it was, I'm answering the phones and sending a guy to a little old lady's house. That sucked. It was me. It was never them. It was always me that didn't fit.
Yeah. Oh, you
And
don't have to explain it to me.
yeah, but it took me a while because I thought those guys were all idiots. It was just me.
Yeah. At Rice University, I took this class, and it's probably one of the best classes I ever had with Al Danto, and it's about buying businesses, it's enterprise acquisition.
Okay.
And one of the guys that comes in, it's a buddy of his, is just like, listen, if you do this and you buy a business or you start one, just realize that you are forever and irreparably unemployable. Like
Yeah,
you are not going to work out working for somebody else because you're thinking, you're doing, you see what's right and you want to act on it. And you're used to having some measure of control that you just can't go back to.
absolutely. I tell people, I use this all the time. I said, if you're looking for like a finesse kind of guy, I'm not it. But if you want it done, I'm going to come in with a sledgehammer and I'm going to get it done.
Yeah.
And I've been that way my entire adult life, and it's been very effective for what I do. But I enjoy this so much. Somebody tells me you need a hobby. I have a hobby. It's my job,
Yeah.
and I love it. So
Yeah. No, I mean, it's always hard. I remember when I first got out, I was hanging out with, some good guys and gals. We played like kickball. We go get drunk. We do whatever. But, I owned a business. Like, it's a different thing than like, they were engineers or, different things in oil and gas, and nobody liked to talk about their work. I always wanted to talk about work because, like, my identity is owning this business. Like, this isn't a thing
sure,
I'm working for the weekend. Like, I'm owning a business with my dad. I bought into it. I am it. It is me. Like, I want to talk about it. I want to, like, it's so tied into my identity. My problem is untying that a little bit, but not, I don't want to untie it all the way.
sure. And I'm sure my wife's like, can we talk about anything else?
Yeah.
And I know I'm not one dimensional, but I don't want to talk about it.
It's
What
a
do you
big
mean you don't want to
dimension.
talk about it? Look how cool this is. We're going to go do this in this place. That's something I've never been here. That's something cool to talk
Yeah.
about. I do need to probably branch out, but we're working on it. I'm 51 years old. This is keep me out of the bars and keep me out of trouble. So
There you go.
got that.
Well, so if people listen to this wanted to work with you, they hear the story of the Superdome, like, how do they find you? How do they work with you?
So I don't know, but every time I Google our company, if I just type in M3 services, I'm findable online. We're on LinkedIn, we're on all this stuff. But if people are really interested, I'd love to just explain to people what we do and then let them see if it's something that can click and fit with them.
Yeah, no, I see how people can work on that way, but like, what if I run, a larger C&I facility and I want to work with you? Like, do I call you or what do I do?
Yeah, go to the website. There's a contact form. My email is my first initial and last name. So A Mouton at m3svs.com. And we'll talk to anybody. The CNIs, we'd love to hear from colleges and military installations, schools, medical installations, particularly like VA hospitals. They're some of the biggest users of energy, and these facility managers, that's really who we want to hear from. These facility managers have so much on their plate. They never get to this work, which is really kind of preventative maintenance work. And we think we can do them the biggest solid by coming in there and doing the kind of work we do and just taking that one thing off their ledger for the year, and it's done. And we'll go do something fun like bill your utility company for it.
Yeah. No, I love it. Well, Alex, this has been great, man. Any final words of advice?
Yes, and I'd like to go back to the AESP plug
Please.
as well. And then there's all these. I just got back yesterday from the Southeastern Energy Alliance, which is all the utility companies and a lot of the players that service Southeastern energy programs. It was in Atlanta. It was just this great conference of what the industry is trying to do. And there's another one in the Midwest, and I'm sure there's conferences all over the country that are like this. But AESP, it's kind of like a great place to start. I think everybody that's in Project Vanguard, I would love to encourage them all, to eventually join AESP because, one, we need more veterans in this industry. It's the fastest way to learn and start understanding what the industry is looking for. It's a great network of people that are thinking along all lenses of how to best serve the energy industry. And this summer, me and another person from Honeywell, his name is Craig Henry, were asked to start a Veterans and Energy Alliance within AESP. And this isn't just for American veterans. Canada is part of this program as well. So it's a chance for us to really kind of interconnect with our brothers and sisters from the Canadian military that are involved in the industry as well. And we're really just trying to grow more and more awareness of what we do, similar to what Project Vanguard is trying to, we're trying to grow awareness. And I think the two organizations need to know each other very well because we're all hunting for the same thing, to make a better energy grid for our country, for our community. I think my plug is for AESP and Project Vanguard to somehow figure out a way to kind of lock arms and tackle this thing together.
I love it, man. Yeah. Well, that's it. That's what Project Vanguard is for a larger extent. It's a super ERG, employee resource group for veterans in this industry. And that model can easily be expanded. It's all the above.
Yeah. And, M3 Services is hiring. We do have skill bridge capabilities for bringing GIs out of the service. There's just so much opportunity for people, maybe if you're not an employer, for leadership opportunities, for growth opportunities. If you like the fellowship of being around working with others, a lot of cases, if you get into the trades, you may be in a truck all by yourself for days on end because you're going from job to job to job and your only interaction is with your customer. We work in teams of 5. And if you appreciated working with a team in the military, this kind of industry can be really good for somebody.
Yeah, no, that's really great. Well, Alex, thanks so much for making the time today, man. And I'm excited to get things kicked up with you with the fellowship in Arkansas and just, really expand our reach into the energy industry.
I'm looking forward to it. This has been exciting. I really appreciate you even including me in it, Kevin. I think at the end of the day, it's like I don't have enough to do. This is the kind of shit I'm always going to make time for because I think it's important for me for growth, but I think it's also important what I can offer and what we can offer back to other guys and girls that are the vets.
Hey, first thing I learned when I was at brigade, they were like, hey, if you want something done, find the busiest person in the room. They know how to get things done.
Yeah, it makes sense.
All right, man. Well, listen, this has been fun and we'll be in touch soon.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kevin. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for tuning into the Project Vanguard podcast. If this episode sparked something for you, share it with someone who's ready to think differently, whether it's about an all-the-above energy approach, how energy security is national security, or the veteran workforce in our industry. If you believe what we're building, a quick review goes a long way. You can do that wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, keep up the fire.